Destination Mark.
Hey guys, how's it going? Marcelo here, and we have a little bit of some interesting news regarding Crash 4 It's About Time. Recently, PlayStation put out this tweet showing that they have a new episode of the PlayStation Podcast out, number 373 to be specific, and in it we see a new interview with Lou Studdert. Thanks very much for calling me out, Matt, and he shed some light on some more stuff regarding the game. Now in hindsight, a lot of it is stuff we already knew about, such as the plot of the game, rebuilding the classic Crash gameplay from the original trilogy, and then building all the new stuff like the wall running and rail grinding on top of it, and we get to hear some cool things like the game being made in Unreal Engine 4, and all the little end-of-level rewards and objectives that are going to be put into the game, like breaking all the crates, collecting all the Wumpa fruits, and even in Lou's words, beating a level in less than 3 deaths. And while all that stuff is really cool, Lou does mention this one thing that ties into the different playable characters besides Crash and Coco. So right now, I'm going to play that part from the podcast.
The sequels in the original trilogy had these kind of cool secret levels. And these secret levels, from an interesting standpoint, would start you in a new location and then kind of intermix in the back half of a level that you played through before, but it felt different since you were doing all these new and unique things. And so we used that as kind of this jumping off idea for what we call timelines. And so these timelines are these optional levels in the game where you get to play as these different characters and see how their story intersects with Crash and Coco's story. And so these unique levels are really fun in that you get to play the first half of the level as this unique character like Cortex, see the event or thing that they did, and then switch over to Crash and Coco to kind of relive the rest of that level out as them.
Now that's very interesting. While the initial news isn't new, seeing one thing happen from Crash or Coco's perspective, and seeing that someone like Cortex was the one who made that happen in the first place, and you actually get to play that part out, we already got to see that from the latest demo footage that got released. But that part about timeline levels is very intriguing, because now I think we know that that is the way these other characters, besides Cortex, will be playable. And as stated by Paul Yan, a lot of fan favorites will be in the game in some way, shape, or form. Whether you meet up with them or fight them, these fan favorites may also be playable characters in their own right. And these timeline levels is most likely how that'll happen. So what does that mean exactly? Well, if this image is anything to go by, it looks like we might end up fighting Dingodile at some point, but what's he doing in this area? Well, maybe through a timeline level, we'll get to actually play as him and see how he gets to where he is. And when Crash and Coco meet up with him in the main story, we'll get to see how all of that interconnects. And since this is what Tana looks like in this game, while we still don't know what her actual role is going to be, or why she looks like this, I think a timeline level might explain it all. And since this location right here looks like one of the pirate levels, whether it's the one shown off here, or maybe in the main level selection screen, there are going to be a clump of pirate theme levels, at some point we might see her in the main story, and then later unlock a timeline level where we get to play as her. And what about Engine? He is definitely a fan favorite, so maybe he'll have a playable section in the game too. And as stated before, all of these playable characters, everyone who is not Crash and Coco, will have their own unique gameplay styles. Now whether or not they'll have those same aforementioned end of level rewards or objectives remains to be seen, but will most likely happen seeing as Cortex has to collect a bunch of Wumpa fruit right here. But with this little bit that Lou talked about with the timeline levels, I think that's the way we'll be introduced to the gameplay styles of all these other playable characters. But I think we'll most likely be introduced to them all in the main story. Anyway, what do you guys think of all this? Are you excited to see what these timeline levels look like? And is this playable Cortex segment here a timeline level? That remains to be seen, but I want to hear what you guys think. So leave your thoughts in the comments down below. I'm Mark, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching, and take care.